Here's the top stories for November 3rd. President Marcos says it's possible to write a good and clean budget. Prosecutors ask the International Criminal Court to dismiss former President Duterte's appeal for interim release. The Department of National Defense says the visiting forces deal with Canada reflects the strategic push for peace, stability, and resilience. PAGASA says Tino is on a path similar to Yolanda and may unleash destructive winds and torrential rains. Kanlaon Volcano spews ash anew, according to Phivolcs. President Marcos is confident that the government will be able to craft a good, clean budget for next year, as Congress continues its deliberations on the proposed national spending plan. The president emphasized that the government must make it increasingly difficult for unscrupulous officials to manipulate processes and steal funds from public coffers. Marcos noted that the government's focus is on reducing the cost of materials for the Department of Public Works and Highways and identifying potential savings in its projects. He has earlier ordered the DPWH and other agencies to cut construction material costs by up to 50% in order to save the government at least 30 to 45 billion pesos, which will be redirected to vital sectors such as health, education, and food. Stressing that the ruling on former President Rodrigo Duterte's bid for interim release was reasonable and correct, the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has called on the appeals chamber to affirm the ruling. In a 20-page redacted document dated October 31st, the prosecution said that the pretrial chamber did not rely on unsubstantiated, hypothetical, and non-specific risks to find that Duterte's continued detention is warranted. The decision is reasonable and correct. Mr. Duterte's 3 grounds of appeal fail to establish any legal or factual error. Rather, the defense repeatedly expresses its mere disagreement with the decision, mischaracterizes and ignores the chamber's reasoning, and misstates and misunderstands the applicable law. The prosecution said, "The appeal should therefore be dismissed," it stressed. On September 26th, the pretrial chamber rejected the former president's request to grant him interim release and ordered his continued detention. The chamber affirmed that there were reasonable grounds to believe that Duterte committed crimes within the jurisdiction of the ICC. The Department of National Defense signed a status of visiting forces agreement with Canada on Sunday, November 2nd, a landmark deal that underscored its strategic push to deepen security ties with like-minded nations in pursuit of peace, stability, and national resilience. The SOF-FA, signed by DND Secretary Gilberto C. Teodoro Jr. and Canadian Minister of National Defense David McGuinty in Makati City, establishes the legal framework for visiting forces from both countries during joint training and military exercises. The agreement between Manila and Ottawa came amid increasing tension in the West Philippine Sea due to China's aggressive actions and expansionist claims. The DND said that the Philippines is Canada's first SOF-FA partner in the Indo-Pacific region, marking a significant milestone in the two nations' growing defense partnership and shared commitment to promoting regional peace and stability. Teodoro emphasized that Manila's deepening defense ties with Ottawa reflect the country's strategic approach to strengthening cooperation with like-minded nations in pursuit of peace, stability, and national resilience. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration said Tropical Cyclone Tino intensified from a severe tropical storm into a typhoon on Monday, November 3rd, as it continued to approach the Visayas on a track similar to that of Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2013. As of 10 a.m., the center of Typhoon Tino was located 285 kilometers east-southeast of Guiuan, eastern Samar. It was packing maximum sustained winds of 120 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 150 kilometers per hour while moving west-southwestward at 25 kilometers per hour. PAGASA said Tino may continue to intensify before its expected landfall on Monday evening or early Tuesday, November 4th, possibly over the southern portion of eastern Samar, Leyte, southern Leyte, or Dinagat Islands. The warm sea surface temperatures and favorable atmospheric conditions could further fuel its intensification, PAGASA's Weather Division Chief Jun Ga-lang said in a press conference on Monday. He also noted that Tino's projected path closely resembles that of Yolanda, although in terms of intensity, it remains weaker at this stage. An ash emission occurred anew at the summit crater of Kanlaon Volcano on Sunday night, November 2nd, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology reported. According to the agency, the activity began at 9:15 p.m. and lasted until 10:33 p.m. The event was detected via infrasonic signal and by the Kanlaon Volcano Observatory Lower Masulog thermal camera, Phivolcs said. The agency, meanwhile, said Alert Level 2 remains in effect over Kanlaon Volcano, which means that the volcano is still in a state of increasing unrest. Phivolcs reminded the public to avoid the 4-kilometer permanent danger zone due to possible sudden phreatic explosions and to remain vigilant against ashfall and lahar hazards, especially during heavy rains. Stay updated with the latest news. Visit our website at www.mb.com.ph or follow us on social media. Thanks for tuning in to the Manila Bulletin Daily Rundown.